This video is sponsored by the Design Mechanism, the makers of Mythras. Mythras is a registered trademark of the Design Mechanism Inc., used with permission. All rights reserved.
Good at that.
Yeah, we're very good at dying, if nothing. Well, I if anybody now says, "Do you want me to GM?" I just say yes. There's no pause in my. Dan sort of said, "What will your group think?" And I said, "It doesn't matter."
They'll get another group.
Which group? Yeah. So yes, so it's just sort of like, but that is in well, we're working on it. But next month's podcast is all about M space.
I'm dying to listen to that.
Yeah, which is really.
Hang on. I heard something about this in your last podcast.
Yeah,
it was subliminal, right at the very end after the music.
Did you actually listen? Right.
I always listen to the end, just in case. It's like Marvel movies.
If you haven't listened to this month's Mythras Matters podcast, then you have to wait right way to the end.
Stay for the credits.
Yeah,
you get Samuel Jackson to do a cameo.
What's the film? There's a film that I think it's like the Three Musketeers or something, that right at the end, Cardinal Vishnu or whatever his name, and comes back on again. And what was that thing with Richard Chamberlain?
That is the Three Musketeers.
Is that it?
Yeah.
And I'm sure he comes
on.
The
first one, because on the Christopher Lee it would have been.
Yeah, I'm sure he comes on after the credits, because there was a big thing about it in the because it would have been theatre then, cinema. I'm still not going outside. It's a lot safer.
Matinee.
the matinee. So, did you notice that Benjamin's on the board?
I did.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm sort of like reading. So what we're hoping to do, thank you anybody who, sorry we're late, people. Oh, 1919 on my clock. I love it when I see things like that. 1919.
I always look at my watch or phone when it's 1337, and I always go, "That's elite."
What's 1337?
It's elite speak, isn't it? It's elite.
Oh right, I see it. It's like when you type in onto your calculator to get boobless or something like that.
Yes, she sells.
Turn it upside down and it says oil. Yeah. I get it. I thought it was. I really like it because of it's either a palindrome or something. So I love 21 minutes past 12 because it's 1221.
Yeah.
And I love things like that. I posted one on Twitter that said 10 past 10 on the 10th on my watch, and everybody was saying, "Oh my God, is that your resting heart rate?" Because underneath was my heart rate. But you'd be pleased to know, playing ESO this afternoon, it was 60 beats per minute.
That's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Very good.
And it has dropped to 50. But that's
when lower. Do call a doctor.
That's when I pass out. Just like that. Anyway, hello everyone and welcome. Sorry, we had to do some technical issues before we set off tonight, but we are back for the finale the final episode of the Lonesome Bridge incident. It's bound to be a fantastic ending, and I'll tell you about the quick synopsis of what's happening. But before I do that, as always, I'm going to allow the players to introduce themselves to you and say who they are and who they will be playing tonight. And as ever, we will go to Mr. Pickles first.
I am Mr. Pickles, and I play Bartleby Fumus, which is our group's theist. He serves Amriel, which is the light moon goddess. She is one of two moon divine beings, the other being Meroth, the dark moon god. Bartleby is able to channel various miracles and powers that he often calls prayers through his goddess Amriel. He's able to heal people, to cure them of disease, of injuries, protect them from injuries. He's able to see various magical things when he asks for Amriel's magical sight. He's able to make shields to protect himself and to protect others. He's also very much our group's historian of this area, since he's from the area, which part of our group in the past has not really been from this area. Bartleby is particularly interested in helping the lower class of our hometown, Lindo, helping the lower Lindo people from disease, violence, and poverty. And that is Mr. Bartleby. I will throw the mic on over to Medivac.
Lost my mouse on another monitor. I don't hate it if that happens. I'm Medivac, and thank you, Mr. Pickles. I play Hazra Khan. He's a nomad. He is from the northern steppes of Odes. He is this wonderful party's go-to tracker, forager, hunter, stealth character. He is at home completely in the wilderness. He can blend in with trees and grass and just disappear from sight. In a city, not so much. He does try his best when he's with the group and they have to go to the local pub, which he supplies the food to, the Hairy Hobgoblin. He takes all his trappings from there, such as hares and deer and whatnot, and gets a good deal, and also gets a few bits of information, and it does help us out quite a lot there. He is a member of the Brotherhood, which is a secretive, I'm not going to say cult, but a secretive group that keeps a track of biomes and changes on things and how things should not be changed and protected, and how to maintain the balance of what is going on all around the world. There are little groups of these spread out in different areas, and they all report to their Grand Master. And you always tend to find 3 of those in a group, with maybe a few scholars and whatnot writing down notes in between. Yes, he has a cart and an oxen called Brutus. He has a short spear and a scimitar. He does love Bartleby because he's been saved many times with him. He also more loves, that's not even a proper sentence, Amriel, who is something he can believe in because he's felt her presence many times. And with that, I shall pass on to Captain Kangaroo.
Everyone on Captain Kangaroo, tonight I'll be playing Cyrus alias. He is the newbie of the group. He is the token sorcerer. Very confident man. As I said, always say to a point of arrogance. He likes to take control when there is a power vacuum. And he likes to also delve into his own vices, such as alcoholism and or possible other things we'll find out later if we have to roleplay more things. But he obviously is very good in the mythical arts, but he can also handle himself when it comes to hand-to-hand combat a little. So maybe we'll find out this next session. See if maybe he has to do that because we are missing a certain character. Besides that, we'll find out more about him once I figure out more about him. But I think I've created a good structure to build upon. So from there, I'm going to pass the mic to Inwills, our GM.
Thank you very much. My favourite bits of the intros was Hazra hiding in grass. I just visions of you sort of like lying flat people trying to hide behind a blade.
A blade of grass. I'm a bush. I'm a bush.
I just thought it was brilliant. And a power vacuum, I've never heard that term before ever, Captain. A power vacuum, but I'm looking forward for another one to happen, so we can see. Yeah, so, okay then. First things you need to decide, and only for this session, is Cyrus sort of like mentioned there about Hengist. Hengist is not with us tonight, so he's obviously there. So I'm quite happy to play him, and to sort of like, rather than him just sort of like disappearing down taking a step forward and going through a multi-dimensional doorway and ending up somewhere else. And I think if I play him, it means I don't need to give you guys control over his character, and it also means that he will get the experience points for finishing off the adventure. And plus, I don't want you to make him a sacrificial lamb and sort of like push him.
Or make him join the guards again.
Yeah, I might do that. Benjamin is there because if you are interested, we're going to start having a flex slot. And a flex slot basically means that if you're interested in having a game, then you can come along and play Benjamin. Benjamin has a really varied past. He's actually bald and has a deep scar down his skull, mainly because somebody buried an axe in his head. People thought he was dead, but he came back, and he's a mixture of melee and magic. He really would like to be part of the theists' religion, but he's not as devout as somebody like Bartleby, so that's why he's on the screen. He won't be playing tonight, but if you are watching this and you would fancy playing Benjamin, then just get in touch with me and we can find a date for you to come along and join in. Can
I just add a bit more to that? Can I just say, come along if you think you're hard enough?
Just to let you know, don't let these three put you off at all. You don't have to have any experience of the game at all. We will help you with everything like that. Just be prepared to do a bit of role play and get stuck in. And that's all you need to do. Okay then, so basically I'm going to try to summarize very quickly what's happening. The party have been employed by the guild merchants of Lindo, and they have been employed by them to figure out why the guild merchants and the local craftsmen cannot build a site at the Lonesome Bridge. The Lonesome Bridge is a wonderful crossing point. It would make a fantastic trading point. It has everything going for it, but every time somebody tries to make a town or village there, things go wrong. So the party were hired to stop it from happening. They've travelled up to the town and the position of the town, and they arrived at the Lonesome Bridge, and several things have happened. I'm just going to not tell you in a huge amount of detail, but just quickly summarise. So both Cyrus and Bartleby found that the area was quite rich with magic. It wasn't sorcerer magic, it wasn't theist magic, it was a other sort of magic. Bartleby found 3 pits that had been some kind of animal bones had been put in and covered it over. They came to the camp, and one of the merchants went wild and had tried to attack everybody with a dagger. He was tied up, and they then found him released or found him somewhere else, not knowing what had happened, etc. Hazra got a visit from his somebody else in the Brotherhood, who came to give a bit of background about the area, and it seems that it is a magical rich site, and a site that has been magically rich and used for a variety of reasons. Shortly after that, the party came back and found that the merchants and the craftspeople were still in their tents. However, the mercenaries, the group that had been hired in the first place to protect the two groups, were missing. They investigated the tent, and there was some open chests or trunks in the tent and bedding, but that was all. They didn't look in the trunks or anything like that, and they came back out. And at that point, they saw, at the end of the last adventure, they saw far on the opposite side of the bridge, carrying torches, as in flaming torches, walking towards them, a series of people dressed in red robes. I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, so coming from the forest onto the Abington Bridge. Yeah.
And I think that is where we left it.
Now, just a quickie. We didn't set the camp up inside the circle. We set it to the south of the circle, didn't we?
Correct.
That's fine. Yes. Yeah.
So the actual pits, etc., are up here.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So the people are coming from across the bridge.
Through our camp to just like north.
Yeah. So if you sort of like imagine, this is where they will appear on the map, but it's not in the same place as your tents, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But my map's not big enough for
No, so our tent is south of our tents are more like down here.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, Bunny Box. Okay, then. So, yeah.
Hi, Bunny Box.
So you are there. That was the other thing that made me smile in your intro, Hazra, because you said, I have a wagon and an oxen called Brutus. And I thought, fancy naming a wagon. I
couldn't think of two names.
Yeah, well, or one is called Brew, and the other one's called Tuss. You know, that's it. Okay, then. So these people are heading. Did we make perception rolls last time?
I think we did to see them walking across. Let's have a quick.
I just remember plenty of crits. That's all.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, we had. I did a track, a perception.
Yeah, we did.
So the So these they seem to be walking in single file. They definitely seem to have cowls up. You can see from the torchlight, Cyrus, they're not the red of a sorcerer's robe at all, far from it. They're more of your red, the Phoenix's red is a bit like a very bright, powerful red. This is almost like a deep blood red, and you can see from the light of the torch, because lots of people had a lot of criticals, that around the edges of their gowns, their robes, so around here, then down the front and around the base, there seems to be black signs or sigils or some kind of runes. You're not too sure what from here, but the interesting thing is everyone is identical. They seem to be, you can't see their bare hands, they seem to have gloves on, and you can't see their faces either, because the cowls are sort of like up and covering there. There's 5 of them coming across, and they do alter in size, and that's it. Okay then, so yeah, well, they are about to stand on the opposite side of the bridge. Okay, they're not stopping, they are moving, so you will have an opportunity to do what you would like to do before they actually okay. So what I'm going to do, can you see this this gate? So what I'm going to do is pretend that is the northern one. So this is that northern tent. I'm going to just take that off, and I'm going to move Brutus out the way. So there you go, and we'll move that down there. So yeah, does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah. We just went up a bit.
Yeah. So you can go back to the tent if you wish, or there's enough room now. So this here is where the bridge comes to the actual your side of the river. Anything beyond that line is water. Yep. Okay then. So, yeah. What would people like to do? You don't need to work on initiative at the moment or anything like that. It's just generally, what are you going to do?
Azra first off will see these characters coming towards a bridge. He will say to the group, "These people are going to perform a ritual that they probably have done many a time. We should give clearance to them so they can go about their business. This has nothing to do with us. We need to."
They don't mean us harm.
No. If they do, we can do. If they attack us, but we should not interfere with what they want to do. Christabella, the lady I spoke to earlier, she told me that this is a very powerful place that many people come to. I shouldn't be telling you this, and to be quite honest, I value that you do not speak of this any further to anybody else. But this area here is a powerful place that she told me that many different people come to use for good, for evil.
They're now on the bridge, so
so let us please back away, back to the tent. Make sure the merchants are safe and out of harm, and that they do not interfere.
Let's get in between them and the tents really quick. Bartleby, do you think they're here for what we did to their mounds?
It's possible. I dismissed the magic from one of the mounds. They may be seeking to see why that happened.
Well, let's feel optimistic, see what happens. Otherwise, I'm going to take a quick swig from my my water skin, which is full of wine.
Nice.
Kind of get ready, just in case a little limbered up, and then we'll go from there.
Cool. I've moved Hengist back. He's going to be stood down by once down. He's sort of like guarding Brutus and the wagon. He's got his hand on his sword ready, if need be. But apart from that, there's no sort of like he's not taking any offensive actions at all. So anybody else want to say or do anything before the people arrive on the opposite side of the bridge? Speak now or forever hold your peace.
I'm gonna shout, "Halt! Who goes there?"
that is totally and utterly original.
Before they arrive off the other side of the bridge, Hazra wants to turn behind him and shout into the tents, "Merchants, stay in your tents."
Okay, yeah. So you obviously shout your warning, Cyrus, and the are you demanding some kind of action, or you're just sort of like saying it out loud to try to get them to say who they are or to stop?
I'm just saying it out loud.
Okay. Yeah, and Hazra, you obviously call back to the tents, and you sort of like say, "Keep in the tents," and you hear the head merchant sort of like his head sort of like pops out of the tent and says, "Is there danger afoot?" And you sort of like hear rustling in your tent as well, the one that you're up against, and there seems to be movement and sound in that. I was just saying, when you were all deciding, I could hear a cat meowing. Who's got...
This is a different cat. My sister came back with her cat, so I brought my mom's cat back to her place.
Right.
And then there's a secondary cat, and it likes to go outside, and we close the door. So.
Oh, right. I didn't know when you said this is not the same cat, whether or not it was one of those replacement cats.
No, it was a Jedi mind trick. This is not the cat you are looking for.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a different cat, apparently. Apparently, I have a cat house.
Yeah. So
I'm expecting that.
The hooded figures come across, and they seem to be walking in unison. They seem to know exactly what they're doing, and they take up this very regimented approach and stance. And just by looking at them, you get this feeling that almost like they've done this before. Bartleby, you sort of like see the religion that is actually within this action. It looks like they have done it many times, and they know exactly how many places, how much gap to leave between each of them, and they're all sort of like stood very sort of like still. They seem to be wearing what appears to be leather gauntlets on their hands that you can see, that are holding the flaming torches, and their heads are slightly bowed, if that makes sense. And it is the one in the middle. I'm just going to put a dot on him so you know for future reference. This person, they all wait for a while, and you get that unnerving feeling that everybody is stood watching. They seem to have their heads bowed, so they don't seem to be watching you at all, and they don't seem to be put off by you at all either. Could you all just make for me a perception roll? Hengist makes his.
Great job, Hengist.
Yeah.
Wow.
Cyrus doesn't, unless you want to look. Luck has been replenished, but magic points haven't.
No, I'm good.
Good.
I'd actually like to use a point of luck to reverse.
Yeah. Okay then. So the people who succeeded, so Bartleby, Hazra, and Hengist, when you actually listen, you hear the faintest of almost like muttered whispering. It's as if they're chanting or mouthing words, and you can't make out what the language is and what the words are, but they definitely seems to have that rhythmical chant, and they seem to be very much in unison. And it's as this stops that there's a pause, and then the lead person steps forward, and he sort of like slowly raises his head and holds out his torch for the person next to him to take, and he lowers his cowl off his head, and you see that it's the almost like the spokesperson of the mercenaries, and he sort of like looks at you all, and you notice that he's looking either side of you as well. So Bartleby, they're looking off to one side of you as well, and Cyrus over to your side, and you can tell that just out of your sort of like peripheral vision. And Bartleby, you sort of like gaze round, and Cyrus, you have a look. The merchants and the craftspeople have sort of like come out, and on either side sort of like huddled together, and the guy in the middle drops his cowl, and he sort of like scans round everyone, looking very very serious, and said, and then he just utters some words to you. He just says, "We tried to warn you."
Hasra is going to step forward.
I love it when Hazra rolls his influence. It's always a bear.
He's going to say first. You can decide whether it's influence. He's going to say, he's going to keep his head bowed. And he's going to say, I'm very sorry, but I've tried to warn them to keep away. I'm trying at the moment to move their plans to build here. I need to go back to Count Bastion and make this place a sacred place, and nobody can build here.
And it's interesting, as Hazra takes a step forward, it's almost like echoed by these two people that also take a step forward. And the mercenary sort of like looks from side to side, and he looks down the side of you as he notices the merchants and the craftspeople on either side, and he sort of like seems to be considering something for a while, and then he looks at you, Hazra, and he says, "You and your friends may go."
I'm sorry, but we are in charge of protecting these, how can I say, these fools. They are our employers, and we try to tell them many a time to not build here. And he will turn around and he'll point his spear and say, these ones here and those ones there are under our protection. They know they have done wrong here.
So now
but
you
we still have to protect them. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so now you can...
I understand what you are doing, and I respect it, and I agree with you, but we are under a contract to make these people safe from their own foolishness.
And now you can roll influence.
Oh, bugger. Oh, gods of good speaking, be on my side. I would like to use a point of luck.
Please be a fumble afterwards.
Reroll, just for fun. Hang on. I'm sorry. On the plus side, tick.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Oh, goodness. That was such a good speech and everything.
It was, but I sort of like think Hazra's forte is perhaps not in his...
No, it's not.
You know, Bartleby, who has influence, oratory, and can preach to crowds. Yeah, and...
But he doesn't know the whole cinch that's going on.
No, and so you sort of like... stumble through your words, and it seems with the fumble that they have definitely taken offence by what you've said, Hazra, and what you notice just as you're talking. So by the end of your speech, this has happened. As you're talking, you notice that the torches are sort of like dropped to the ground, and in true almost like fencing actions, they sort of like pull off one side of their robes, and sort of like on one side of their they're not sheathed because they can't be sheathed. They appear to be carrying some kind of sickle blade. It's not completely half moon shaped, but it definitely has that curved edge. It's not as long as your scimitar, nothing like that. Almost like it has the thickness of a tulwar blade, and whatever they look quite menacing. And Cyrus and Hengist both notice the efficiency that they do this action. They're not clumsy herders or, you know, city guards. They have done this quite proficiently and very effectively. And the guy in the middle sort of like looks at them on either side, and you notice that he just sort of like holds his hand up very slightly. It's not all the way up in the air. It's just almost like slightly off to one side, as if to say, wait, I know he's made a mess of this, but let's not kill him yet. And he says, the guy in the middle says once again, he says, "Your words are wasted. You and your friends may leave. However, the ground itself requires an appropriate sacrifice for the desecration that has happened in this area."
At this point, I've read what's going to happen, and I think Cyrus is pretty cool with it. So I'm going to shout out. So you have chosen your fate, and then I'm going to cast Fireblade.
Okay, then. So let's burst into initiative. So let me just alter this. Please don't forget to click on your tokens before you roll your initiative.
Hang on. Sorry, before we roll initiative, there's no rock on this map for me to hide behind?
I know, and you're right at the front.
I know.
And what you fail to know, that these tulwars are thrown. They go...
Almost 17 feet long.
And you're sort of like this stood here like in your pajamas. Right, okay then. Let's roll some initiative. I'll get Hengist's up and done. Hopefully his has come on. Yeah.
I've just got a message on Discord from Hengist saying he doesn't mind being at the front.
Bartleby, what's your initiative bonus?
My initiative bonus is 9.
Oh, yeah. Well, in which case you are going before Hengist, who is a 7. Okay, and then let me just get my dice roller up and roll my d10 for this. And these, they're going to, we'll call them cultists. I nearly put...
So stereotypical.
I know. It's just...
Seems apt, though. That's what they are.
13.
I know Cyrus made the aggressive move and he's first on initiative. That's really well worked out.
Yeah, so that... Well done. That's his action.
Yes.
Yeah. So
I just might have planned that out. We'll
yeah, so you will roll
for optics.
You will roll your you're going to cast Fireblade, aren't you? So that'll be your folk magic. It's a folk magic spell, isn't it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So roll your folk magic. You can't.
I'm going to roll luck for that one.
Okay. Then. Yeah.
Reroll that, baby. Come on.
Oh yeah, nice. So this you will add an additional 1d3 points of damage. I think, and if it hits anything that is flammable, there is a chance that it will set it on fire, and then it will burn for the appropriate number of time. I presume you're putting this on your glaive, yeah?
Yeah.
Not on Hazra. You can actually put it on Hazra.
it's a touch spell, so.
All right, yeah. So that's 17. That's your action done and dusted. I wasn't expecting to go into combat at this point. I haven't got my cards out.
This point, so you were expecting.
He was expecting proper discourse and us being peaceful, and I was like, let's make this cool.
So yeah, yes, seriously, I was not thinking that this would happen at this point, but it's all right.
Because we're missing Hengist, you see.
I am absolutely well prepared now. I've got my 5 action points, so we're away. Bartleby, you're up on 16.
5 action
points. There's the all the merchants and whatnot are behind us, right?
Yeah, they're sort of like here and here. So this guy here, this cultist here, has got if he moves, he could move straight towards them. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And this would be way too early in the round to tell if they're already going to charge us.
Correct. Yeah.
So Bartleby is going to panic beg for a miracle to occur, for Amriel to protect him,
Yeah.
keep him safe in the face of danger.
Yeah, nice. So Amriel's shield appears. What does that look like? Just remind us.
Especially since it's kind of dark right now, I presume.
Yeah,
it's
it
the
is.
moon. Just suddenly the clouds break and moonlight shines down on Bartleby, letting anybody who knows of Amriel's truth that he is protected.
Brilliant. So that's a large shield, isn't it?
This one actually, you might be thinking of the Aegis spell. This one just puts non-stacking armor on me, I believe.
Oh yes,
in all my hit locations.
Does not stack upon worn armor. Rather, it supplants it and it instantly. Yeah. And how much armor do you get?
9.
9. Wow. Nothing.
Each point of intensity, and
nothing.
I'm very devout.
Yeah. Nice.
You just run over there and tackle everybody. That'd be really nice.
I actually can't really do much for damage, though.
Okay, no, we know that. Okay, then. So, Hengist, you hear Cyrus off to one side. You hear the of Hengist's two-handed blade, his long sword that he can use two-handed. Sort of like unsheath, and he sort of like uses that as his action point and sort of like takes up a position there. He seems to be guarding the passage back to the merchants, if anything else. Hazra, you're up.
Hazra is going once
yeah.
He's going to put his boots of RLF on. I'm not going to say that what it means. No, he's not. He's going to just take a bracing motion with his spear. You'll see his spear drop down at the front, and then he's going to stand there, bracing, waiting for anything to happen.
Yeah. Okay, then. On 13, the guy in front, the guy with the yellow sticker out, he shouts something. He uses his free action to shout, and at the same time, he draws his weapon, which is a similar blade to everybody else's. But one thing that you notice slightly different about this guy is that he actually wields it two-handed. Okay, so he sort of like pulls it out two-handed, and he sort of like shouts to his colleagues at the beginning of 13, "Take them!" like this, and then people start to move. So this person here, Bartleby, you notice, and this person here don't actually come for you. It appears that the order to take them is not directed as you as a group. It's directed at the merchants and the craftspeople. And these people sort of like move in this direction, and you can hear Bartleby as you've got your shield on, and they start to run. They seem to be, Bartleby, you notice that they seem to be running very well in these robes. You know, it's as if they're totally used to it, and you see as they come past you that the front of their robe sort of like split, and they seem to have some kind of leather armor on underneath. These two come to this part, and at the next round they have to pass both Hengist and Cyrus, so they will come into combat as at that time. And the guy at the top draws his weapon. And Hazra, could you just roll a perception for me, please? You don't need to use an action or anything like that
certainly.
for it. Oh, from the sublime to... Now, that is where you should use it. Okay, so you notice your eyes are probably focused very much on this guy in front of you, and you notice something, two things, sort of like at the same time. The first thing that you notice, you don't actually see anything, you feel something. There's a definite drop in temperature. It's getting very cold. And the other thing that you notice is that from above, behind him, okay, you notice from the mounds, the two of the mounds that Bartleby pointed out to you, you notice there's some kind of mist emanating from it. It looks as if it's seeping out of the ground. In those two locations. Okay.
And Hazra sees that he's a focal point of this, essentially.
You're not too sure. What all you know is that it suddenly got cold. I mean, this guy just seems to be stood there. If anything, he's probably eyeing you up. You know, because you're there with your spear, etc. Okay, so this is combat turn 2, the second combat turn. So remember to keep a go of your actions, so we know when we finish. So Cyrus, you're first. So this cultist, he doesn't look like he's running to engage you. It looks as if he's running through the gap, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's his dumb choice, but we'll see how that turns out for him. Seeing that he seems to be running, to a gap, I have a big long glaive. I was wondering maybe I can kind of swing it like a good old home run right towards him.
Yeah, you can make an attack. Go for it.
Yeah.
His bad choice.
All right. Let's see. Come on, baby.
Point to the bleachers first.
I'm reversing that. I'm reversing it.
Okay, then. So another point to look there. Okay, yeah. So you sort of he sort of runs towards him, and you sweep your glaive aimed almost exactly on his mid drift. To almost whack it in this huge glaive. And as he comes towards you, and as it sweeps towards you, you notice that he does something very strange. He's not actually able to follow through with it, and it doesn't actually pay off. But as you swing the blade, you notice that just as it starts to sweep towards him, he almost launches himself almost up and over it, as if he's performing some kind of athletic movement instead of his evade button. Unfortunately, he misjudges it slightly, and as he pushes off slightly too late, and your glaive actually makes contact with him. So you'll have one special, it'd be special hit location damage.
So specials, it's probably one of the few things, probably one of the many things I'm not entirely very knowledgeable on.
Okay.
When it comes to the, what options I have.
Okay, so basically, you have a huge range of options, probably somewhat restricted at this time. So you could do an impale on him, which would mean that you would whack your glaive into him. You would roll 2 damage rolls, and we would take the highest one. The negative of that is that your glaive is stuck into him, and you have to roll a brawn roll to pull it out at your next action. The positive of that is it actually does half amount of damage as you pull it through him. Okay, you could choose your hit location. So rather than rolling for a hit location, you can actually say, I want to hit him in. Okay, and then I'll say, yeah, that's possible. So for example, on this roll, you might say, I want to choose location. I might say, yeah, you can either do chest or abdomen or legs if you wanted to, rather than actually rolling to hit. I think max damage is
it's a proper special.
It's a crit special, isn't it? Yeah.
Yep.
So you could do things like bleed, which means that you swipe at him and he has to make a roll, and then at the end of every round he starts to lose blood, and if he fails his roll, he gains a level of fatigue. So he goes from being normal to winded, etc. And then his rolls are adjusted accordingly because he's bleeding out all over. Hazra, if there's any specials that you want to talk about.
Yes, you do Scarfo and put a little S for
You can actually do that.
So the two options I would say in this, because here's the thing: the impale made sense, except my brawn's terrible.
Yeah, that's what I learned.
Yeah. So I want to be able to pull out my weapon and say, okay, you keep that there, and now I'm going to cast rack on these dummies. I personally like to keep my weapon in my hands. So
sorry, there is one called press advantage where you do the damage and you force him to remain defensive so he can't attack next turn.
I'll do that.
That's a positive one.
Yeah, I like, because I also like to not be harmed.
Yeah, it would keep him there. So if you tried to run past you, that'd be an attack of opportunity, wouldn't it?
This is the attack. Now,
sorry, yeah.
So what you would do is press advantage. So what this means is that he cannot attack you.
Mm-hmm.
So in his next round he can't. So it's almost like you sort of like sweep him or hit something, and he's just sort of like falls to the ground, and it doesn't stop him attacking other people. It stops him attacking you.
That's fine.
Another one you could think of is Sunder, which is two-handed, which is your glaive, which two-handed weapons damage the armor or natural protection of an opponent, reducing the armor protection, whatever, by any damage above the AP value. If AP value is destroyed, it goes over to the hit points. So basically, rather than the armor blocking the damage, you're destroying the armor, and the rest goes
at that location.
To that location.
So normally, if I've got 5 points of armor on my chest, it doesn't matter if you hit my chest, I've still got 5 points of armor there. So if you hit me in my chest normally for 6 points, I take 1 point of damage. If next round you hit me for 7 points, I take 2 points of damage. The armor value, the armor points do not reduce. However, Sunder is a way of damaging the armor. Okay, so what you do is that, say I've got 5 points of armor, you roll your damage. If it's higher than 5 points, and say, for example, you get 7 points of damage, my armor takes 2 points of damage. So instead of being 5 now, it's down to 3. And it will stay that way until it's actually repaired.
All right.
So many choices.
I know.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking, because I just feel like I don't want to make the wrong one.
And this is what you could have
go for
won.
impale and then lose my
The best one. The best one. I'm not
round.
telling you about.
It's redacted on my sheet.
It's the automatic crit press advantage.
It's the. And so, what would you like to do?
It goes directly towards the head. Yeah, I'm going to do press advantage. And
Okay, cool.
Just really whack at him,
Okay, so you go to press advantage. So I still need that's your special. You still get a hit location and a damage. So roll your 1d20 for its hit location. And that will be, I think, his left arm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's left arm. So, and now you roll your damage for your glaive. So there should be a button there next to your glaive that does damage, and you just roll that. It will automatically add on you damage modifier if you have one. Okay, so
Is your thing on fire as well? So that does make a difference as well, does it, or not?
Say again, sorry.
Well, it's also plus 1d3 because of my flaming fireblade.
Yeah. So you now need to roll a 1d3 in addition to that.
Oh.
Okay, so you actually do 7 points of damage. You actually notice that as you swing your blade, your glaive at him, what you do notice is that the angle of the actual blade of the glaive was not perfect, and you notice that it seems to slide off his armor somewhat on his arm. It does make contact, and you do make a dent in him, and there is a short amount of blood, and his robe that he has on that area, sort of like with the magical fire, sort of like sets on fire. He's actually here now. And Bartleby, you're up next.
I'm going to use my last action point for this combat round to point at...
I like the way you say that. Folks, this is my last action point.
I'm the only person here who only has 2 action points. So I figure, I may as well out myself right now. I would like to call on Amriel to punish the sinner that is directly right over there.
Are we shocking him?
Sinner punishment is this.
Fantastic.
And here is my roll.
Yes.
Oh!
Just on the mark.
And dodge that. You do get an evade, by the way.
Oh, do I get an evade? Thank you. That's what
Yes.
I just wanted to...
Thank God your evade's 81.
Check. Yes, he does make his evade as it comes down. So I think... Yeah, so
is that against my 80?
Oh yes, sorry. No, you're right. He does make his evade, but it's not high enough to avoid the attack. So you need to roll your 1d20. Now, I don't know if you listened to the podcast 2 months ago, but one thing I was talking about is that I don't understand why spells don't have specials. Because can you see that spell?
Yeah, it should have a special.
It would be brilliant if you could now say choose location.
Yeah, or magnify the damage. Or,
yeah, but they don't have them at all. So 8, what's that? He's a human.
My 8 would be my abdomen.
So he sort of like, you bring it down. You probably bring it down in front of him or down on his back, as he arches, and he sort of like it sort of like hits him, and that's stunned, isn't it, now for one turn?
One turn, and I just want to emphasize it does make a very loud noise.
Yeah, there's an almighty sort of like crack of thunder and lightning as it sort of like comes down from the sky. There's no angels here. There's just a whole lot of angels going, good grief, what's that? It's sort of like whacks down onto him. I'm going to just get him to make an endurance roll.
Here, large vehicle. It's an osprey going above my house.
It's an osprey?
Yeah, there's big VTOLs.
All right. He sort of like arches his back as it sort of like hits him in the back, and he's now prone on the ground as it sort of like whacks him in his back as he almost like runs past you. And it sort of like whacks him in the back. So he's now actually prone on the ground. Okay, Hengist is next, and he's going to make his attack roll on this guy, which is Way of the Sword he's using. So this is his roll. But he's not going to use his point of luck to re-roll that. So he sort of like takes a swing at this person as they bypass, and this guy sort of like seems to do some kind of dodge. He seems to be very dexterous as it just like sweeps, narrowly missing his body as he arches it to one side. Hazra, you're up.
Hazra is going to take a free action to look at the leader, and he's going to stay in almost like a bored tone.
Like a what, sorry?
A bored tone. He'd be like, why couldn't you just...
Oh, I got you, yeah. As if you're bored, yeah.
Yep. And then with that, he'll brace his back foot and he'll launch his spear at this chap.
Oh, chucking it. Nice.
I'm chucking it.
Chuck away.
Chuck away. Chuck away, chuck away. Melee, nomad combat skill. And here we go. 76, which is just standard.
Yeah. So yeah, because you only need standard because you're not actually firing it into combat. He will try to get out the way. He doesn't have a shield. You can't parry with a weapon, missile combat, but you can evade and then remain prone on the ground. So he 49. Yeah, he this is a differential roll, isn't it? Yeah. So he actually gets out the way because you chuck your spear and he evades it. So he sees you about to chuck it and comes over, and he sort of like lands on the ground. He sort of like threw himself to one side, so he is prone at the moment, and your spear is somewhere behind him. And cultists now move. This one, you lose sight of Bartleby. This one gets up from the floor and turns to face you. He can't do that's his action, recovering from the floor. He does still have his weapon out, and he's obviously turned his attention to you. This guy here, he gets up because he's prone. He can't fight you, Cyrus. Because you got press advantage on him. But what he does get up and sort of like tries to shrug off his robe, and as he does so, you do notice that their only bit that they don't have armor on is a head. That's the only bit. So he's now up, and this guy here turns round to Hengist and sweeps his blade at him, but fumbles it on a 99, and sort of like does it. And you're not too sure, Cyrus, what Hengist does, but he's sort of like, as this tulwar comes through, you think he knocks his forearm or maybe bashes his hand on the guy's grip. And this cultist suddenly finds that he's now unarmed, and he's dropped the weapon, but everybody will probably think that Hengist disarmed him with some wonderful fancy movement. And then this guy, two things, Hazra. You notice that the swirling mist beyond, seems to halt as this guy hits the deck, but he uses his action, as you can probably tell or predict, to actually get up again. And I think that's now all my cultists done. So we're going on to the third turn for anybody who's got action points left. Cyrus, do you have action points left?
Yes, and I'm thinking, should I just go straight for the head? Should I try to...
Well, you could do an attack if you wish. So if you attack and you get a special, then you can choose location if you wish.
All right, I'm just going to go attack and...
yeah, so attack first.
Come on, baby, come on.
Yeah, so you swing with your blade and your glaive, sorry, and this guy avoids it, but he's actually out of actions because he's taken an extra action than anybody else have with his evade earlier on. Cyrus is done. Bartleby, you don't have any more actions left. Hengist does, and he's going to swipe at this guy again. Oh, you shouldn't have me rolling these.
And do you know what? You can't use a luck point because that doesn't happen until
1 minute to. Yeah. He takes a swing at this guy, but this guy doesn't have any action points left because he evaded earlier on. So he's just sort of like, he just misses him altogether. Bartleby is probably looking a little bit worried at the present moment in time as he's suddenly. Hazra, do you have an action point left?
I do. I'd like to ask a question. Could I back off to Hazra, to me, to you, to Bartleby while drawing his scimitar?
Well, you can go back to start off with, because I think you've been very much involved in the combat in front of you. You also saw, I gave you a nice lucky break to see the things beyond. Yeah. That they're also, so you know that you've heard an almighty crack of lightning. If you wish, you can waste the action, well, not waste the action, but spend the action and have a look around and see what's going on in the combat. But that will take your action up.
I wouldn't be able to draw my scimitar at the same time.
No. Really and truly, I think Hazra is probably very focused on...
Yeah, I totally agree. So I will draw my scimitar.
Yeah, and do you wish to close to combat? I'm quite happy for you to draw your scimitar and close to combat if you wish.
If he's still on the ground and prone, well, if he's making his way up in that turn, I will move forward and draw. Then yes. Yeah,
he is actually stood up at this point. So you draw your. Well, I allow you to draw your scimitar and sorry.
Well, no. I'll tell you what. No, I won't. I will just stay there and draw my scimitar.
Okay then. No. Okay then. So now we come to cultists. The Cyrus Hengist, they've used up their action, and they actually have 3 action points per round. So this guy uses his action points to approach Bartleby. And Bartleby, can you just roll a perception? You don't need to take an action for it. I just want to see whether or not you hear something. No, you don't hear anything. This guy, and of course the guy in front would have another action, but he evaded earlier on, so he's all his action points are used up. But what you do notice, Hazra, is that you sort of like stand there, you draw your scimitar, and he sort of like looks at you, and he shifts his sword between, he's two-handed, remember. He sort of like almost like takes one hand off it, and he just sort of like raises it up in the air, and yeah, you don't know anything else that's happening at that point. Okay then, right. So we're going to combat round 2 now. So all your action points are refreshed. Okay, so you're all ready, and Cyrus, you are first. Yeah, what would you like to do?
All right, a little pissed off that I missed the last swing, so really gonna use this to really concentrate and just really blank this guy in the face. Oh no, I'm gonna go for another swing and see what happens. Come on, baby, come on.
Yeah, you. I'm
gonna roll my last luck. And reverse that.
Okay then.
Yeah. All right. And could I? Hold on, let's just get my luck points out.
No, it's fine. You reverse it. It's a hit, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to use your last luck point to reverse it, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yes.
then. I'm going to use one of my group luck points to therefore ask you to re-roll the dice roll.
You've got this. You get lower and lower every
Gasp.
time.
Gasp.
We're going against another party.
You've got it. You're going, oh, Beetlejuice.
With these rolls.
Yeah, you sort of like swipe.
Can we use our group look point?
You can't see it, but I have all my cards on in my 2 luck points. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't have said that. My numerous luck points are down here. I did say was it last adventure or the adventure before about group luck points?
Look points. Yeah.
I think it was the before.
Yeah. Okay. So you swing, and even with a bit of luck on your side, luck does not appear to be on your side at all. And as you swing with your blade, you miss him, but he tries to parry your attack. So he will
be a lady tonight. No,
no, he doesn't. He misses. All their skills are about 60, just so you know. So, and he almost like you sort of like swipe through, and you notice that he tries desperately with his blade as you miss him to try to get his blade to whack your hand. In order or to disarm you in some fashion, but fails. And Bartleby, you're up.
Does Bartleby have his club out, or would I need to draw that?
You would need to draw it if you wish to fight with it.
I don't think Bartleby had it out.
No.
So I want to use my action to draw my club, and if I may, use my free action to passively block my head.
Yeah. Okay then. So you're passively blocking with your weapon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
Like I'm going to be swinging that.
Yeah.
Can I just say, Mr. Bartleby, you've got your shield out, haven't you?
Oh, I know. I mostly wanted to do it so that this guy knows I'm serious.
Okay.
You can't have me. My shield, my wings like a shield of steel.
Hengist is next up. Over on the far side, so he will roll his way of the sword to try to hit this guy, and he hits. Yay! Okay then, so this guy will of course parry, or try to parry, should I say, and gets a 3, so does parry. So both their weapons are the same size, so they both Hengist hits, but the guy parries it and no damage actually progresses onto the guy. Hazra, you're up.
This chappie hasn't moved any closer, has he?
No.
He's just hanging back.
Yeah.
Right.
You notice that his eyes are funny colour, by the way.
Okay.
Throw your scimitar! Throw your... I just imagine Hazard just standing there and chucking everything.
Throw a chair!
Here's a rock!
Just anything. Hazra's... I want to be focused, but meta. No, right, you're right. Yes, Hazra will slowly... I'm not going to engage combat, but he's going to step forward so he's eye to eye, but doesn't want to engage. Okay. He's there.
Yeah, cool. Okay then, so Cultist's turn. Bartleby, roll your perception.
I trust in my goddess.
Your goddess doesn't trust in you at the moment. So this guy has got all his actions at the moment. So he's going to roll to hit at you. Yeah, he does actually hit you. You can parry if you wish. If you do parry, then that your passive block is off.
Yeah. No, I'm trusting in my goddess, even if she just suddenly left me for no reason.
Okay, then. So he will roll. He's going to actually he's going to use this weapon to impale you.
Right.
With it, that's going to be his special. So his hit location. So if this is your head, then he automatically misses. Because your passive block is
away
there.
With my little wood stick.
Yeah. Anywhere else, it'll go onto your armor, and he has to get through your armor via your side. So he hits you on your 15.
I think that's my... Yeah, he's going to try and impale my right arm.
Okay, then.
Holding the stick.
Yeah, so that's got... does that have armor on it? Yeah.
Yes, it's 9 armor to all hit locations.
Cool. Okay, so he swings with his toolbar. He does 4 points of damage. Which is sort of like comes across, and it almost like you hear those angelical voices as it just sort of like comes close to you, and just before it hits, there's a bright moonlight glow on it as his thing sort of like hits him. I'm actually going to make him do a willpower check.
If I can interrupt really quick,
yeah,
he gets an impale, so he gets to roll again. He could do better.
Yeah, but I can't get any more than 6 on a 6-sided die. So, I just thought,
the truth comes out.
I mean, I can roll it. I can roll it again if you really.
I would.
Drat!
You don't have to.
No, the other one came up as a GM roll, so the people on the screen can see it's now a 6. But I'm going to make him make a willpower check, just because this theist spells, he's very sort of like native animist sort of like spell, so this is something quite unnatural to him. Yeah, he sort of like gains a 71, and his next action, the next time he does an action, it's going to be hard, just for 1 turn, as he sort of like recovers from what's going on. Right, so the guy in front of you, Cyrus, I think he tried to parry you last time, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure he did. Yeah. So he's going to now try to whack you with his next hit point. He fails with a 97. So you have a choice now. Mm-hmm. You can, if you wish, just leave it, or you can use an action point to parry. And if you do parry, then you get a special parry, a parrying special, which are slightly different, and there's sort of like a set number of them, a set few of them that you can do. For example, you can do accidental injury, you can blind opponent, you can compel surrender, you can damage his weapon, you could try to disarm him, you can't entangle him, you can force a fate.
Overextend as well?
Yeah, overextend you can as well. So you can pin
what's
the weapon.
Overextend?
It means that he moves forward, and I think it means that I think the top and bottom of it is that he can't attack next round.
Yeah, so it's exactly the same as
press advantage.
Yes, press advantage. Only it's instead of doing a flurry in front of him, he's pushing towards you, and you're stepping aside, and he's literally walking past in a sense. So he can't move. He's overextended his move.
And just out of interest, overextend opponent can actually be stacked. So can you see? You can just keep putting it on and on and on and on. So and everything. So he cannot attack on his next turn if you succeed. So you would have to parry first. Succeed that, you would lose an action point though.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure. I've used one so far. We are on combat turn 1 still.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if I want to use my. Well, you know what? I'm gonna take a chance. I've been rolling terribly, so
Take a chance.
I'm gonna go for parry.
Okay, go for it then. Oh, wise decision.
Nice.
Okay, so what special would you like to do?
The version that's similar to pressed
Overextend. Yeah,
overextend. Yeah,
overextend. So he cannot fight. He cannot make an attack next turn at you at all. And then over here we've got Hengist and the other cultist. So this cultist is going to roll at Hengist. He fails, and just to keep it simple around here, Hengist is not going to attack, because then I know that everybody's on equal pegging over here, and then that's it. So they've both got action points left, and the last person is at up here as the Hazra and the weird cultist, who is going to cast that. Oh, he seems to mutter some words and sort of like a point at your head, and I'm actually going to use my second luck point for my round to re-roll that to see whether or not I can get better. Oh. I'm all out of luck. Cyrus, just so you know, what's that sound? I can hear like a drum going off in the background. It's very atmospheric. Cyrus, just to let you know, you can use luck points to make the opponent re-roll. So if I roll and get a crit, you can actually say, I'm going to use one of your luck points to make me re-roll, just like I did with you. That goes both ways.
I think I did that like either last session or session before.
Yeah, so it's cool when that happens. I like it. Okay then. So that's the cultists all done. So we're going now to combat turn 2, not 3, as it's come up there. And Cyrus, we're up with you.
I'm going to
this
go
guy,
one more time.
Yeah, this guy can't attack this turn.
Yeah, because of that, I'm going to use my last action point to attack him with my glaive.
Yeah, cool.
Come on.
Ooh, miss. So you swipe at him, but he can't attack you this turn, and he's just sort of like left there. But you're getting used to this glaive. You think it's very big in this confined space, and you keep hitting the tent next to you and everything. A good job Bartleby's not too close, because otherwise, as you wheel it round or whatever, it would be taking ears off. Lex, I said, and Bartleby, you're up.
I have a sort of dumb question first.
There's never anything to do. Yeah, go for it.
Well, let's see. Are you able to use luck to force a player to reroll something if they failed?
As in a player on your side?
Yeah, like at this moment, you can make an enemy reroll luck. Can you make a player reroll if they failed right there and we're out of luck?
No.
I didn't think so.
No, you can only luck, because I think if you think about it, you can be lucky, but you can't make somebody else lucky.
That makes sense.
It's
usually people who are interacting with you.
Yeah, and the only I have group luck, so I can sort of use it with all of them. It doesn't matter where they are. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we're down to you, Bartleby.
For my action, I'm going to point my left hand at this guy in front of me and request that Amriel move the center out the way with my center spell.
He's going to be really mad at you. You just keep hitting this poor bloke with lightning.
Just get out.
Oh!
I'm going to use a point of luck, my second point of luck, to make that a 39.
Okay, then. So down comes the lightning. I have a roll, do I? A resist roll?
Yes, you have an evade versus that 39.
Yeah, so his evade 60. He gets 96, so he fails.
Here is your location in your 2, which should
So
be
a
right
leg. Yeah.
And here are the number of turns. Give me another one. Yeah.
Okay then.
Dead leg.
So his leg is stunned. So he has to roll an endurance check against your original magic roll, which would have been 39.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay then. So here we go. He gets 74 and fails. So he's now prone. He looks so annoyed at you.
Good.
Big
He's
time.
mean.
You're just sort of like hitting him over and over again with these lightning bolts as they come down. Hengist will roll to attack. Yes! So he actually hits. So my guy will try to parry. And fumbles with 100. Yeah, a nat 100. So what that means is that Hengist will get 2 specials. Because the differentiation, it's not he's failed, but it's even worse than a fail. So he actually gets 2 damage and 2 specials.
Choose location, bypass armor.
Yeah, that's what I thought he would do. That's what I would do in this. Well, I wouldn't. I would choose location, and I wouldn't bypass armor.
Max damage.
Because is max damage a crit? I think max damage is a crit.
Proper crit.
Yeah. So what he's going to do? He's going to do hit location. He's going to choose location because he's going to choose the head. And he's actually going to impale. So what he's actually going to do is almost like slide the sword straight into an eye as it goes in. So the damage.
Sorry, let's hope it does damage. Otherwise, this case will remember the sword in his eye.
Yeah. He sort of like pushes the sword straight through this guy's eye. This person probably moves in such a way to fall forward to almost like, really sort of like messes it up. Maybe splits on a bit of grass,
mushrooms,
and fumbles into it. So he's using it two-handed. So this will be his first damage roll. 4, and this will be his second damage roll because he's impaling. 8.
Nice.
It is a lot better. So that will actually put a serious wound, a serious wound on the guy. He gets 88, and this guy passes out unconscious and can easily be eradicated at a later date. Let me just get I can't find my cross because it's going off the there it is, chunk. I'm just going to roll Hengist's brawn. He will actually do it later on, but I just want it out of the way so I know whether or not he's actually pulled it out. I don't believe that.
Nothing worse than failing to pull it out.
So that'll continue on. I just wanted to see whether or not he was going to come back and join the fray, but Hengist is just sort of like has just kebabbed this.
Can I just say to Hengist, welcome to my world?
Yeah, and he sort of like puts it in, and Cyrus, you can see this cultist all that going. And twitching on the sword, and then Hengist is sort of like shaking it as well, trying to get it off, and there's brain matter falling out the back and everything. Hasbro, we're up to you.
I'm not close enough to take a swing at this guy, am I? So I will move into combat with this guy this turn.
You are. I was going to combat you last time, so you can fight.
Sure.
I don't mind.
Okay.
Yeah?
Well, in that which case, I will take an almighty swing with my scimitar.
Roll away.
Roll away, roll away. That's a 13 out. Well, it's a 13 standard, which is a formidable.
No, it's you will only change it So everything's standard at the moment. If I said to you, this is a formidable roll, then you would have succeeded because it's 13 out of 52. Okay, he's actually got 1 point left, so he's actually going to try to evade out the way, but fails. So yeah, you will have a special hit location damage.
Okay, special is going to be...
Choose location.
Choose location, please, and the location will be head.
Okay.
As you can see, he's got no armor on.
Okay, yeah.
So damage coming your way is going to be not as much as I want, but it's 6.
6 points of damage, which actually takes him down to 0 on that location.
Oh.
So that's actually a serious wound. So he needs to roll his endurance. He gets a 91 and fails, and you sort of like whack him with your scimitar across his head, and he sort of like, you probably stick it somewhere not as nice as Hazra, but not as nice as Hengist, sorry, but you sort of like whack him, and he sort of like
the ear off.
Yeah, and he sort of like falls to the ground. Just make a perception check for me.
Certainly.
Yeah, you notice that there seems to be something manifesting itself ahead of you in the actual middle of the...
circle. Yeah.
It seems to be almost like coming up from the ground. It's as if chunks of earth are coming up and almost like jigsawing together as it comes up. Cultists next. Bartleby, roll your perception.
Perception 74.
Okay, you still don't hear anything. Yours is prone, isn't it? It's been whacked by your shock, hasn't it? And so it's
stunned the leg.
Yeah, so he will use his action to... He'll use one action to get up. Okay, and is yours isn't dead, Cyrus, isn't it? No, you missed last time. So it will take...
It can't attack right now. It can't attack me.
That is true, yeah, because it's over extended. Yeah. So he can do nothing on this turn. Okay then, and yeah, and that's the end of combat round turn 2. So we're into turn 3 for anybody who's got action points left. I think Cyrus, you're out, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Bartleby doesn't have any. Hengist.
Yeah, sorry.
Hengist will use his final action point or whatever he's got just to try to get his sword out of this guy. Oh, yes!
Yeah. Awesomeness.
And he gets a crit. So as he pulls it out, he actually does half amount of damage again, if you remember, because he was impaling. So he actually, but it's actually a crit. And he just sort of like, as he brings it out, he pulls it upwards as well. And it comes out slicing the guy's skull and comes out the top of his head. And there's a burst of blood everywhere. And he does it in true fashion. Hazra, do you have an action point left?
I do, yes. I want to shout to Mr. Bartleby while moving towards him if possible. So he look around and go, oh, no, move to Mr. Bartleby and try to engage this thing here. And say, Bartleby, what is happening over there? The ground is exploding into like strangeness.
Okay, so you'll hear that, Bartleby, but not be able to do anything at that point. That's Hazra's done. Cultists done. This guy here is up, and he can still attack because he's still got action points. So he takes a swing at you, Bartleby, and gets a 34. So that will hit. Are you doing anything?
I have no action points. All I have is a goddess protecting me.
Okay, then. So he will see that you're virtually unarmed, where you've got a bit of a stick with you, a branch with you. And he actually saw that he tried to hit you on an arm last time, and there was that unholy burst of light. So he sort of like thinks there's only one place to really hit you now, and he sort of like uses his special to choose location and brings his tulwar down onto your head, because it's unprotected, but you've got passive block up there. So as it comes, you actually see him almost like going down for your head, and you manage to get your club up, probably two-handed like that, and he sort of like whacks it, not in any amount of style. I don't think it'll just be, and he goes chunk into your club, and that sort of like protects you. So he's now a bit confused because he can't hit your arm. It looks like you're very good at defending your head. So what will happen next, I do not know. Cyrus, your guy has got one action point left, because he couldn't do an action last round when you overextended him. So he couldn't do a parry at that point. So he does have an attack now at you. And he gets a 12, which is not a crit. But I don't think you can't block or anything at this point. So this is going to come straight into you, and he's going to swipe across you and try to instigate a bleed on you to try to make sure that you are slowly out of combat. It hits you on the 4.
It's on the 4? Okay.
Yeah.
So that would be my left leg.
Okay, then. So do you have armor points in that?
Yes.
Okay, then. So he will roll
3 armor points.
Okay, then. So he will roll his 1d6 for damage. He only does 1 point of damage. So your armor absorbs that. And that's it. Your armor points do not drop. Okay, so they're still at what they are, but the armor actually stops it, and he's out from this round. Not that I know of. I will check it again.
But you mean the dithering? If you spend your turn not doing anything, I guess.
No, that is when you take an action and you choose to divot. I don't mind. Yeah. I don't mind being corrected at all.
No, don't worry about it. It's just that we've not done that before. Where if somebody overextends, we've not carried the action point on before.
The defender sidesteps or retreats at an inconvenient moment, causing the attacker to overreach himself. The opponent cannot attack on his next turn. This special can be stacked. So he still keeps the action point.
The action point. All right. Sorry.
So I think that is that everybody done. Oh, Hazra. Bartleby hasn't been able to hear anything for a while, but you can roll a perception, and as you approach that,
did he get my message that I shouted to him?
All I hear is Amriel.
Yeah,
I did get your message though.
He will, but he can't act this.
No, that's right. Yes.
So if you just
44,
44, standard roll. So that's absolutely fine. You can hear a whole load of screaming and gurgling sounds from down this area.
Down that area? Oh my life! That's where the merchants are. hopefully the bad ones.
Right. I think Bartleby, you need to roll me an endurance roll, please.
Absolutely.
Cyrus, are you 3 combat rounds before you roll endurance?
Hold on a second. Sorry. How do I know that?
It is your I think, hang on, let me just check it. It is your constitution in seconds rounded up.
So my constitution is 9. So
9.
yeah.
So 9 rounded up would be 10. So that's 2 combat rounds because each round is 5 seconds. So you now need to roll an endurance roll. Otherwise, you will get a level of fatigue.
Right.
For
like me.
Yeah. And Cyrus at all. So on your character sheet there will be an area of fatigue, and just change it to winded, which will then automatically adjust all your rolls accordingly. Hazra, I think you're 3, and Hengist is definitely
13.
Yeah. So Cyrus, you make that roll every 2 rounds. Okay, so after round 4, if we're still up, then you will make it again. If you succeed and you pass it, you don't take the endurance, but you have to roll it again and what we ruled right at the beginning is that when combat is working, it doesn't matter if you just stand there. It's still, the stress of combat is just too much. Okay then, so this is round 3, turn 1, and Cyrus, we're up to you.
I have a question. So I actually have this. I picked this this folk magic because I thought maybe it might help me in this situation. It's vigor, which it makes me feel alive and energetic.
Yeah.
I was wondering if I can cast out myself in order to make me not winded.
Yeah. So is that the same one as you?
Yep, that's the same as my Amriel caffeine drink.
Oh yes, indeedy.
But it's a folk magic.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's the same one as yours, isn't it? Yours is a folk magic.
I also have Perseverance, which is the miracle version.
Yeah, so for the spell duration, all fatigue effects from activity are ignored. It negates the tie spell. Yeah, so you just need to roll. This will be your action, and you need to roll your folk magic skill. Now, remember, it will be hard because your fatigue is already hard.
Yeah.
So...
trying to think.
Or you can hit this cultist.
Yeah. Should I just? I'm gonna just hit him because I also don't.
It'll still be hard.
It'll still be hard, but you know what? I've been rolling terribly most of these, so we'll see how.
Okay.
You are due a crit.
Come on, babe.
Oh, but it's not today. So you don't look at your standard roll at all. You only look at that hard. And so it's 64. So you swipe and miss. Bartleby.
Well, I'm going for the Amriel energy drink. And I'm just going to throw back.
57 out of 57. So you actually managed to cast it by the skin of your teeth. So you will reduce that. Hengist, so I know what he's doing, and I just want to do it and then tell you what happens. Yeah, he gets a crit on his roll, and Cyrus, you suddenly see a blade come through this cultist's head from the game. So he gets 2 crits, and he can use specials as well. So he can use critical specials. So he's going to use choose location head, and then he's going to use the critical one, which is max damage. And the maximum his two-handed sword can do is 1d10 and plus 1d2, so that he does 12 points of damage as he rams this sword. He probably slices with it, and he just basically decapitates the cultist in front of you, who falls to the ground. Hazra, you're up.
I am going to engage this one
yeah.
here that's abusing my friend Bartleby.
He hasn't abused him this round yet. Can I just say?
So much.
That's been abused by Bartleby. Sorry.
Yeah. I don't think he's actually laid out a weapon on Bartleby yet.
Oh, bless him. Here we go. Oh.
Yeah. No. So that hit 96.
It says it's a fail though. It's 96 out of 103.
That's weird.
D20 doesn't want you to win.
Why is it saying that?
Damn you, D20.
Oh,
that be...
no, yeah, it's because any roll.
Oh, down 100 to 96 is a miss.
No, any if there is any roll 96 to 100 is an automatic fail, no matter how good you are. So even if you're and just as a roll of 1 to 5 is always a hit. So, say for example,
yeah, that's right. Yes,
yeah,
1 to 5. Yeah, we had this last time.
Yeah, so you sort of like.
So the only benefit of getting your skill over 100 is to force the other people to have a lower skill to try to. Yeah.
Plus, it increases your crit chance.
Yes.
So if you go above 100, it then increases your crit, so you've got more chance to crit. So Hazra, you got your scimitar out?
I got my scimitar and did a lovely little twirly effect and then backslide.
And missed.
Yes.
Okay, you probably sliced the air, and these are the cultist roll now, and you can
Bartleby duck.
You can just see this cultist. I think it's fair to say that he considers that Bartleby is well protected. He's tried to hit him a number of the times and missed, so he's going to swing at you, the guy in the pajamas. He's going to have a swing at you and see what he can do. And 57 will hit.
Oh, it will hit. That's a nice onesie hit. I will parry, please, sir.
Yep. Parry away.
Parry away. Sorry, I've moved my screen and I can't see that one there. That is a 48, which I don't think, because you get higher, don't you?
No, it's just equal roll. So it's this is a differentiated roll. That's right. If you got a crit, So both our weapons are the same size. Yes. So I sort of like swing at you, and you manage to block it with your scimitar in a wonderful manner.
Sparking effect.
And now we're straight back up, because that's the only cultist that you can actually see at the moment. So this goes into combat round 3, turn 2. Cyrus, you can sort of like look around for your action if you want to see what's happening. Or you're not aware of what's happening behind you, obviously, because you've been in combat. But what would you like to do? Are you muted?
Oh, I want to say that.
My bad. It looks like they have this guy covered. I'm hoping maybe I can go around Hazra and see what's going on with the other one that went around the tent.
Round this way?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll go around.
Okay, so I think what you would probably do, because you wouldn't actually be aware that this has happened because you were in combat over here, but you can come around your side of the tent to check on the craftspeople. If you wish, that's absolutely fine. And just to let you know, Hengist will come with you after and just sort of like looks at you and smiles as he knows that he took out your opponent. He took out his opponent and your opponent.
I'm more of a commander, not a fighter.
Yeah. Do you say that? I'm more of a lover than a fighter.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
You notice that the majority of the craftspeople are hid behind the ox and the wagon. They seem to be cowering behind that. Do you wish to give them any orders or anything?
I shout to stay where they're at, and we're going to help finish these guys off.
Okay, cool. And Bartleby, 16, you're up at yours.
I suppose at this point, Bartleby would break his passive block and swing his club to.
Oh my giddy ant! He's
Stop it!
Oh, this is when it's just like a crit. No, I was just about to say it's going to be a critical wrong that knocks his head off. But do you have any luck left?
I do have 1 point of luck left, but I don't think this is the appropriate roll to spend.
Okay, then. So you swing and miss. Hengist is busy around the opposite side. Hazra.
I will take a swing and hopefully hit.
Yeah, go for it.
96. Do it. 74 hit standard.
Yeah. So he will use an action point to try to parry your attack. He gets a 40 out of 60, which you clash weapons again, and it's his turn to fight now, and he's got 1 action point left, and so he'll roll to try to hit you.
Oh my
goodness! Who gets a critical?
Can I do one little thing? I know this is silly of me, but can I use the point look to make you re-roll that?
You can if you wish.
Yeah, I do wish.
So
please do.
Oh, please don't. Please don't.
Please.
I just need that.
You know why? I've got no action points left.
Oh, please. Do you know, if this comes up as a 2 or 1, I will be...
I know. Don't worry. 99.
44, which still hits.
Hit.
So he will try to impale you with his sword. He'll sort of like jab it as you in your hit location of a 12.
Oh, that is my chest.
Okay, and his damage will be, let me do this. First roll is a 5. Second roll is a 6. How much?
My life.
How much?
So it's gone. Oh gosh.
How many hit points?
I've got -9. I haven't. I'm down to what's that? 6. I'm down to 4 hit points left.
So how much armor do you have?
I've got 2 armor.
2 armor. So I will do 4 points of damage on your chest. So do you have 8 points there?
I do indeed.
Yeah. So it's down to
4.
4 points. Yeah. So you got a minor wound. He probably clips you.
And the rib cage as it goes past. It's like.
Yeah. But please remember, it's in you.
I know, and I know how I'm now hard to do anything.
Yeah. On top of anything else.
Tail, yes.
So if I think you're hard. Are you hard already?
No.
That sounds completely wrong. Can I just say?
I am hard actually. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're now. It won't automatically add it on, but now you're actually formidable on all your rolls.
No, I'm not formidable. I'll be hard.
I thought you had a fatigue.
No.
Oh no!
Until after this roll. Yeah. I roll in a minute.
Yes, you.
That's hard. I might add now.
Does anybody have action points left? No.
Oh, I wish.
Okay then. So now
I do.
Okay then. So you're sort of like you and Hengist do around here. So what else would you like to do? Hazard, just roll your endurance so we get it over and don't move.
Oh god, it has to be oh baby.
Yeah.
So I'm now just on hard. So I'm just classed as winded.
Yeah. Yes, Cyrus and Hengist, what would you like to do? You sort of like
we're going around the tent to see if we can see anybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
I tried to move Hengist then. Okay, yes, you can. Over here, how you really do think, how did Bartleby not hear this? Okay, out of 5 of the merchants, you can see 3 of them are quite dead. Okay, some of them have tried to run, but has been cut down by this cultist, and one sort of like backed away nearly to the fire, and 3 are dead, one's by the fire, and this cultist is stood over one of the people with his tulwar double-handed over his head, about to plummet. And Cyrus, this is combat round 4, and you're up.
It's going to take 2 turns, I think, in order for me to use rack, right?
So you'll have to use a point of shaping to actually do the distance, and so you've got your distance that you have to change, and there'll be something else. I don't have my my whatchamacallit open, my spell list. Rack will only do like 6 points of damage. I think it does with you, does it not?
Actually, hold on a second. Oh, crap. I don't have my book up. But, I could do another thing, which is kind of what Mr. Pickles is able to do, but on others. I have a damage resistance spell. Maybe I can like max up the damage resistance of these guys, so that way they can't attack. But that might be taking too much. That'll still probably take at least two turns.
To increase your range, it's 1 point of shaping, so that would be 2 turns, because all sorcery spells take 1 turn. So because of your range, so that would be 2 turns.
Yeah.
Maybe try to distract him by using your amazing oratory skills. And go, hey!
As Hazra shouts over the tent.
No, it's just me lending a hint. Sorry.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense. Would that be...
If you wish to use a skill, then it's just an action, and you just use that skill. If you're, you can say a very short series of words as a free action. So if you imagine a whole combat round is 5 seconds. So really and truly, if you're going to say anything, it literally is something like duck. You know, it's not sort of like, do not do that, otherwise you're going to be in serious bother, because it's only, and you can only take a free action once every round. Okay? So, but if you wish to holler at him and use your action, then that's absolutely fine. What would you like to do?
Yeah, I'm going to holler at him and just kind of shout, hey, you, I don't know, say...
It's all right, I got my mature content on, so if you wish to swear, then that's fine. Mr. Bartleby, just block your ears, please, because you're not used to this sort of language.
All right. Hey, you cunt.
Oh, you can't use that word.
Can't use that.
Brought you onto the show, Captain Kangaroo.
Oh my giddy! I thought you were going to say
you said it was mature. I'm going to turn it off. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sure. Do you know that word? I just cannot cope with that word as I don't. Right. So you say some hideous word at him on 17. Okay then. Cool. Bartleby, you're on 16.
I really can't do much, because Bartleby's evasion to get out of being involved in combat is so...
You're probably not in combat now, because this guy's actually attacking Hazra. You can't move forward because you can't move through him, because he's not a friendly target, but you can back away if you wish.
I'll do that, because I remember Hazra giving me some orders, and Hazra is brave and strong, so...
Yeah.
He's bleeding from the chest, but...
And you sort of like look over to the area that you saw, and you do see there was something being created then, and sort of like being brought together. But you're not too sure, but it looks like it was once full, but bits are dropping off it. Probably about 3 bits have dropped off it. There looks like there's about another 2 bits, and then it's probably inanimate.
So it's falling apart. Then it looks like.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
Keep it to yourself, Hazra.
No.
Well, I can't. I'm out of devotion points.
I'm all
so I can't
out of
dismiss
devotion.
magic.
I'm so lost without you. What do you wish to do?
I thought the backing away was my action.
Oh yeah, yeah. So you can tell me what you do next time. Hengist is full of passion and starts to head towards this guy, Hazra.
Yeah, Hazra is on this new turn. He's going to take a swing at this chappy here.
Oh, yes, hurrah! Come on, Hazra, you can do it.
How about you?
Yes. 30.
34 to 69 and a hard.
Yeah, so he will try to parry your blow and gets 53 and succeeds. Well, yeah. So Bartleby, you can see these two people locked in combat. Firing. Bartleby's just there saying, "Go, Hazra, go, Hazel, go, go."
Go. Do
you want to know? I have to say, Captain Kangaroo, what I thought Cyrus was going to do is shove. Because
I was considering it, but
because that would have been
so hard.
That would have been sort of like, I would have let something special. Well, not special, but this. He's sort of like, Hengist is moving towards him. You're sort of like shouting at him. And you just notice this manic grin appears on your face. And he doesn't actually look down. He looks at both you and Hengist like this. And he does this grin and he just goes, down onto this merchant who squeals for a short amount of time that turns into some kind of gurgle as he sort of like coughs and splutters, and there's a blood fountain coming out of his mouth. And Bartleby, you notice another bit falls off this thingy-bob. And yeah, so we're back up to the top of the round. Turn to Cyrus.
Where's the other merchant, the 5th one?
By the fire. So Hengist is probably by him now.
Okay. So he's probably.
Can you chuck your glaive? That would be classic.
No. I do have.
Chuck it into combat. That's what I do.
Do you chuck anything?
Honestly, I'm gonna try something. I haven't used this yet, but I have him. But I have to take him out anyways. I was thinking of throwing one of my knives. But it would take an action to take it out and then an action to throw it, correct?
Correct, yeah. What's the reload on the knife? Is it 1?
Yeah, it's 1.
So it'll take an action point to take it out and then an action point.
Actually, no, the load is 0.
Right, so you can just take your action to draw it. Okay, and then if you wanted, how many knives do you have on you?
3.
3. So you probably draw your 3 knives because there's no reload. So you can go on one action, on the next action, on the next action, on each turn as it goes down, if that makes sense. So yeah, you can use your action on 17 to draw your knives. And so you'll have 1 action point left to chuck it at the next one. Oh, that would be classic. If you critted, choose location, head, impale.
Yeah.
That would be so cool. That really would be cool.
It would be really cool. The only issue is that these daggers only do 1d4 damage.
Oh, it wouldn't matter.
Soft.
It wouldn't matter?
Well,
it's almost like reloading, throwing things from a bar.
Got it.
Come on.
I'm going to try. I haven't used them yet. And,
Okay, then on
might as well.
17, you pull out your 3 daggers ready to throw. And Bartleby, you're on 16.
I want to go check, but seeing how this combat is going, Bartleby doesn't want to leave a friend behind. Hazra never left Bartleby behind. So Bartleby is going to point his hand at this poor unfortunate soul, and
You're not going to shock him again.
and I'm going to shock him again. He could get the message that he's doing something wrong by the universe. I'm
not going to give him the evade because I don't think he will realize it's happening. He's really much in combat with Hazra as they clash swords of fencing style backwards and forwards. So so I need a hit location first.
I got to roll for it to
come
off. So I actually thought you were going to say Amriel just says no. You're done with the shot.
Hard luck.
You nasty, put the taser away.
Oh no, she's way behind you on it. Way behind you on it.
These folk are not okay.
Hit location
I hit him in his
leg. Yeah.
1d3. D3. Please be a 1.
Two. So that's stunned, which means he's dropped to his knee. He's actually prone now because his leg's given way because it's stunned. So he tumbles down. Hengist on his moves to the fallen. The guy who's been backing away. Hengist, you notice that it's actually the leader of the merchants that is still alive when the rest of his entourage are actually being slain. Hazra.
I am going to, seeing this chappie fall to the floor, that doesn't rightly bother Hazra that much, as you well know. He just wants to finish this man and get him out of the way, and he's going to take a swing.
Okay, yeah.
Oh.
Ooh. Yeah, so you got 14 out of 69 because you're at hard at the moment. But you hit him nicely. He can't really parry with his weapon, I'm going to say, because he's just been stunned by Shocker Boy in the corner. So you'll have a special hit location damage.
Yeah, hit location, choose special, choose location. We head.
Okay.
And damage will be 6.
Yeah, and you sort of like whack him in the head, and you sort of like it goes not quite as good as Hengist, but you sort of like slice it across his face, leaving a nasty scar, and we will say that he is now on the floor. So the only thing I'm going to ask to happen now, and I'll show you why in a second. So, Cyrus, I would like you to chuck your knife.
Okay.
Then I know what's going to happen.
So do I.
Yeah, so you throw the knife and it goes wide of him and sort of like goes through the tent flap and actually goes into the guys into a tent flap and disappears. And this final cultist sort of like looks at the cultist, the merchants that is being protected by Hengist. And he almost like sort of like says, almost like he sort of like that smile, almost like looks like he's resigned to something. And with quite a swift movement, he actually flips his tulwar forward and then plunges it into his body, just on his solar plexus, as if he knew exactly where to do, and sort of like whacks it in with not even flinching, and then slowly, still with this manic grin on his face, slowly falls down, and you can see his tulwar sticking out from his back. And
Didn't
I
see that coming.
And okay, I'm proposing that we. Do you need a break?
A real quick break would be nice.
Yeah, so we'll have a quick 5-minute break then. That'll take us 9:30, and then we got half an hour to finish off the session.
Summarize.
Yeah. So, people, if you're watching the stream, we're going to take a quick 5-minute break to go to the bathroom and get some more drinks. So we will be back in 5 minutes. Thank you for watching up to now. And yes.
Oh, dear.
Okay, yeah. So we are back. The party have quickly combat in Mythras always takes a huge amount of time and it's so involved. Anyway, but it's really good. So yeah, we are at this point now. So one merchant is alive. All the mercenaries are all dead.
They're all dead?
Yes.
The mercenaries too?
These are the mercenaries.
The cultists of the mercenaries. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought they would have run from combat, to be
No.
honest.
Called it. That's why they had the empty cases or
well,
chest.
yeah, if you had gone into the tent and looked at the content, you would have found various ritualistic things. But yeah, so you sort of like look at these and you suddenly figure out that these are actually the mercenaries, and the head merchant is crying and sort of like over his lost companions. It looks very much when you go over Bartleby. Just roll your healing skill, Bartleby, while you're eating your pizza. Bartleby's, eating some food, checking over these dead bodies as he sort of like munches away. It looks like you're. It looks very much like it almost like looks like ritualistic killing. There seems to be an entry point just above their collarbone here for the initial stab, and then it looks like it's been sort of like brought down through their body rather than just killing them. Just out of interest, Bartleby, your perception checks was whether or not you could hear the screams of the merchants.
I knew. Bartleby, thankfully, had no idea, so I'm a little innocent. But you said that the merchant leader was grieving and very upset.
Yeah.
I was hoping to do a double action at him. I was hoping to use Calm and then approach him and make an influence roll of sorts.
Yeah, and what would you like to? Tell me what you just want to calm him, and is there something else that you want to do?
Yeah, I want to use the calm spell to help get him into a more relaxed state, so that I can communicate effectively with him. And then I want to use influence to argue to him that we did the best that we could here.
I can't move this. It's really annoying.
And that we did find Bartleby is going to play detective a little bit there with information you just gave me. That he believes we found the culprits, and trying to spin things in our favor. That we were good to have there. Hazra and Cyrus and Hengist all stood and made it so there were fewer casualties than there would have been. Would be the influence roll.
Okay, so first of all, just do your calm spell first. Let's just make sure that goes off. Yeah.
You do get a resist of willpower, though.
Yeah, I don't think he's actually going to resist it because I
come in praying for Amriel to.
He gets a 92, so he's not going to
calm those storms.
So even though he's really upset, I think that's how I would see the willpower check at this point. How upset he is, and whether or not he can sort of like remain upset in that sense. But no, you can calm him down. So yes, make an influence roll, but you can augment it with your oratory.
Oratory. My oratory is a 47. I'm trying to get better, guys. So I give myself a 10 on my influence, which is normally a 51, so it's a 61.
Cool.
These are dark storms. And I'd like to use my last point of luck.
Oh! Do you know, I don't know if you've seen the screen, but I've put Longshanks's picture in this square where he is, and I keep thinking he's there. Does that make sense? I just catch it out the corner of my eye, and so like, oh, is he? No. Okay then. Yeah. So that would be a 19 then. Yeah.
Correct.
And yeah, the merchant sort of like accepts your story that you have that you were doing your best, and you know that you as a group. You try your hardest. Even the craftspeople are a bit upset as they see all the merchants' butchered bodies. What's going to be your plan? I'm just interested. How Hazra, is there anything that you're going to? Obviously, the idea. They're not going to stay here. They're going to travel back to Lindo. And I'm interested, what's going to be, what are you going to suggest happens? Is there going to play out with this? Yeah.
Hazra's main goal with this is now to stop anything from being built in this area. Okay. This wants to be made a sanctified area where, sanctified is the right word? But it's a sacred area where nobody can build on, and it should be literally... Yeah, as simple as that. It should be open to anybody to come to, because what he's seen tonight, he's seen this thing appear out of the ground, and
you think it was Cyrus, by the way? I think Cyrus was good.
No. I will say it, because Gulliver has a link with water. Cyrus, he's already seen Cyrus do the fire thing. And with his outfit, he's linking him to fire already, which is quite scary.
So is this something that you want to...
I'd rather have... He wants to talk to Mr. Bartleby and say, Mr. Bartleby, you need to speak to Count Bastian and persuade him not to build or not to allow anybody to settle or build on this area, because it will affect the whole balance and may result in things that happened at Ubin Falls, you know, with the appearance of strange things coming out of nowhere.
Bartleby would like to think for a moment. Would he be able to even get a meeting with Count Bastian?
Yeah, I mean, this is something that you, if Hazra and... It depends. I mean, you can all join forces to do it, and that would be. I think I would probably use it as some kind of social conflict activity, probably over a period of weeks. I don't think it'll be something that sort of like goes in and you just sort of like do it. I think you'll start off with your first meeting and put the case forward, and then further on, and work like that.
I mean, he knows who we are because we've been in his audience before.
Yeah,
but we're just regular citizens. I
think what we need to do. Obviously, this person that survived was the leader of the merchants. He understood what happened. Even the people he hired, he couldn't trust. The mercenaries, and obviously the mercenaries are probably not working by themselves. We can tell them that if you continue to do this, you're going to continue to have these issues.
Yeah, and I think
you can't trust anybody around you.
I think
maybe I can do that. Maybe I can roll an influence and
yeah. So what we'll do is that, I mean, Count Bastian's a leader. I think this is not going to be a series of just one roles, etc. And if you remember what social conflict, the actual rules, how it works is that it's done, there's like a time span. So you sort of like do your roles, and that's like a week. And what happens is that it's almost like battling socially. So each organization or each person has a certain amount of hit points that is part of their social conflict, and then as you roll you actually have specials via your social conflict rolls that you can actually but for example, there's one that says something like to do that you've made your point so well that the other person is flummoxed and can't answer that point, and so you then make another point, which is a bit like press advantage. You're actually, so I think what we'll do with that, rather than play it out in one go, we'll probably say that over a few weeks or months we'll do this, and what we can do is somebody will take the lead, normally the person with the highest influence, if that's the sort of role that you want to go on, and then anybody who attends will augment that person, and that reflects what you were doing there, Cyrus, and sort of like putting extra bits in to sort of like combat, to not combat, but to force the opinion and make definitely make the decision or the opinion firmer. So that could probably happen over a series of weeks. In between, you could probably even do it in between adventures, so you'll probably have a meeting with Count Bastion at the start of the next session, and then you'll go off and do another adventure, say, and then you'll go back, because he's Count Bastion's a busy man. And what you were saying, Hazra, yeah, so he does know you, and some of you sort of like saved his life at one point when you got rid of the Chaos Beast in his towns, in his throne room. So that might I might say, okay, then because he knows you, he allows you an audience. You know, it's a bit like, you know, if you go for a job in the place that you work, a lot of the time they say, okay, then look, we'll give you the interview, you know, and then that. So he's probably willing to see you because he knows you. You're not just sort of like 4 people that have come up, well, 3 people and Cyrus who have just sort of like come off the street, so that'll be fine. So what's your plan about this actual area? Are you striking camp? Are you heading back? Are you doing anything before you leave? Tell me about that.
Azra wants to find a spear, but also in the same breath, he also wants to make sure this large monstrosity that was appearing out of the ground is gone.
Yeah. So yeah, I assume as well, Cyrus, that you probably dropped your glaive to throw your daggers, because you'll have 3 in one hand and whip them out one at a time. But you can retrieve your weapons. Nobody's run off with them. I'm just reading a book called, well, I'm listening to it called The Graveyard Druid. And I was walking around, walking on my walk, listening to it, and he has a returning spear as well. Oh, he always chucks it, and no matter what, it comes back. But he has a bag, and the bag has 7 slots near the top that he can put things in, but it can hold any number of items. But the bag is sentient. So sometimes it has this wonderful ability. Nobody knows what's in the bag. It could, and if it gets really cross with the druid, it just sort of like puts out a monster, or he reaches in and to pull out his short sword and he gets something completely different. I just but he has a chicken. Yeah, he has.
I was thinking about doing a returning spear with mine, and just like tying some ropes to the back of it.
Yeah.
Like Mjolnir or whatever Thor's hammer's called.
Oh yeah. Okay then. So we're going to obviously strike the camp and head back. Just so you get.
Just so we know, the craftsman will not argue with this, and if this last merchant argues,
they'll
point out his friends. Yeah.
They are definitely never coming to this place ever again. And I think your discussion with Count Bastion is what becomes of the area. Can it actually be almost like an area of natural beauty and be banned, you know, or what will happen to it? Because you almost like think that if this goes on again, you know, this area is still rampant in magic, and it's like ley lines all coming together. So you head back to Lindo, and time's running out. So what we'll do, I think we've had 4 sessions, haven't we?
Oh, we have, yes.
Yeah. So you'll get 2 experience rolls per session. So you'll have 8 experience rolls by the time you get to use at the start of the next adventure. I think we decided, Cyrus, that did we say that it would be a 1d6 plus 1 instead of a 1d4 for you when you...
You said it was going to be double the experience or whatever.
Okay, then. So you will have like 16 experience rolls to play around with. So just to remind you that you use an experience roll to increase your skill, and it's actually, you have to get equal or higher to your skill, and you roll a 1d100, a percentile dice, and you add on your intelligence, whatever your intelligence is. So, so the more intelligent you are, the easiest it is to increase skills.
Cool.
You will actually increase the skill. If you get your skill or above, then it increases by 1d4 plus 1. If you fail, i.e. you don't get your skill or above, it just increases by 1. Okay, so you still get an increase, but it's not as good. You can use it on the same skill. So you could say, I'm going to have 3 on folk magic, so. You don't have to have used the skill to use it. One thing that we like to do is almost like, say, when we're doing the rolls, to say something like, so I've been spending time in the library looking up on history of this area there, so I want to increase my lore. So you sort of like think about that. The only other thing you can increase your attributes, your actual strength, etc. But what that does, and nobody's ever done it, if you increase it and you use 1 point to increase it, you have to always use 1 point every time you get experience point rolls. If you don't, you lose it. So
Hengist has used that, hasn't he?
Got it.
Hengist hasn't increased any of it. He's thought about it.
Oh, I thought that's when he got half his experience points every time.
No, he gets half because his intelligence is so low, or his charisma.
Oh.
And that's what I like about the game. You know, there's no throwaway skills. So I think his actual I think it's his charisma or something like that is incredibly low.
I thought it's because he was keeping his strength up.
No. So his charisma is 4.
Oh, bloody hell.
So he finds it very hard to learn from day-to-day things. So that's it. So just before we finish, I would just like to tell you, if you haven't figured it out, so you can do yes if you knew that, etc., etc. The mercenaries were the people who actually instigated it right from the beginning. If you remember, they kept out of the arguments. Their basic plan was to try to get the merchants and the craftsmen to almost like hate each other, so they stopped. When the water goblins, anything that happened to you before you left was done by the mercenaries in some way to try to stop you from going. So that was their first sort of like plan of action. The water goblins that attacked you, that was fine. And that was a real thing. There was nobody coming down towards you when the mercenaries came back. Oh. It was just a ruse to stop you going.
Yep.
The person that was hung up, I don't know if you remember, but if you look back on it, the mercenaries came back, or one mercenaries came back, and Bartleby, I asked you for a perception roll, and you failed it. And the perception roll was to notice that he had blood on his actual clothes. Because he had been the one who had hoisted up the dead body that the mercenaries had got from the slums or something like that, and actually put it up at one time, but mainly to try to prevent you going. This was their major thing. They're not actually mercenaries, but they can fight. And if you want to do some work about it, any law skills, then you can roll those in next adventure.
Yeah, I was wondering before we leave, could we search their bodies to see if they had anything of loot?
No, they're not carrying anything, any gold, silver pieces or anything on them. They're definitely the mercenaries, and they're definitely in leather armor. If you had searched the tent, there was a lot more information in there that you could have got before the event actually happened. The bones were actually haunted spirits, and so the mercenaries were the ones who were poisoning and putting the people to sleep, and then they pretended to be asleep, if that makes sense. So they were then asleep, and then they actually poisoned the water or the food on the way, and they actually poisoned one of themselves as well to throw off suspicion. Okay, they actually volunteered their services to the merchants. If you remember, the chief merchant said that they were very cheap.
Yeah.
And that was why. So they undercut everybody to actually be there and to sort of like continue on, sort of like working with them. It was hallucinatory poison that was put into the mad merchant's drink, and I thought
it was animist, when that happened. Where the merchant came out with the knives, I thought under bones had been used like by an animist to animate a spirit to put inside him and poltergeist.
Well, there was out of character. There was a very spiritual background to it, because I know you don't have an animist, so it's so much fun. Going back. There was information you could have found out beforehand. So Hazra, that's...
I was going to say, what's frustrating is I wrote in my book
exactly.
to go to the Brotherhood.
I actually had to bring her in to give you that information. And just so it wasn't the only Bartleby. There's actually records going back in your church library of various things that happened at the site, from anything from like witch hangings to people disappearing to all to try to give you that feeling of there's something weird going on here rather than anything else. But the merchants were the ones right from the beginning, and what they were trying to do, and they succeeded in some times, but not always. They tried to partner you off. So some of you were arguing with the merchants,
the crafters,
and some about the crafters. So all the time, and they let you control them, because that just by that action it threw off suspicion from them. Because you were actually in control. You were telling them what to do. So they always had that fallback plan of saying, and just so the discussion right at the beginning, and when they were in their circle, and he said you have to pay. What he was referring to is he was quite happy to let you go, but because the land had been defiled, there had to be a human sacrifice, and so he was actually saying that you could go, and he never got to say it because I think Cyrus initiated combat, but one of the merchants or the craft people had to die. And to be honest with you, I had in my head, I was really interested in what you would do if I said, but one of them has to pay.
I know what Cyrus would want to happen, but he knows that it would probably piss off someone like maybe Bartleby.
Yeah, Bartleby. But
Yeah.
Bartleby, go get some tea from the tent. Slip.
Yeah, and there was this wonderful, and just to let you know, all the poison was actually in the mercenaries' tent. So if you had ever done a tent search, you would have found a whole load of things, and you could have found what was in their little trunks at any point. If you you could have checked the wagons to see what was on their wagons, and if you'd done that, you would have found some unusual things, like there was 6 or 5 little boxes, coffer boxes, that were shut, and that had their robes in.
I was going to say maybe 5 or 6 blood robes. Yes.
Yeah, and so that was if you remember when you were on the track and the goblins had sort of like pulled things off. Can you remember there was one that had, and I said something like, do you want to search the wagon, or do you just want to put the things back on? And I think somebody just said, I would just want to put the things back on. And so there was that opportunity there. But
Let's see.
Right the way through, the mercenaries weren't that bad.
I was going to say there's no reason to distrust them.
No.
So there's no reason to search there.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's why it was so good, because they actually... I think somebody did early on mention the mercenaries, but the action was always directed at the merchants and the craftsmen.
Even the merchants were acting so arrogantly,
yes,
they were beating themselves.
Yeah.
You know, so it's
they honestly paid for their arrogance.
And they...
oh, but one.
They were actually... trying to almost like win people over in their own way, so almost like referring to Hengist and Bartleby as one of them, and they had
it's good that Bartleby's trying to get rid of the poor. No, help the poor. Sorry.
Yeah, and it was if you remember when you arrived. The first thing, they were very friendly and very wanted you to be there with them and say, come and sit down. And I asked you, whereabouts do you want to sit? And right from that point, I was determined to have the merchants and the craftspeople as the two
antagonists.
Yeah. And try to throw off suspicion of the interestingly enough, things could have gone differently, so if you had found the stuff, then I don't think we would have the end battle. I think something else. But I also wanted Hasra to get this feeling of, so what do you do with this area now? And it's almost like the Brotherhood records and, but is there more going on here? And what needs to actually happen, which is an interesting dilemma.
Out of character, I'm interested in this thing that's appeared from the ground, and every time you've killed a merchant, a part's fallen off it. And then the final one was the guard sacrificed himself to do the final piece to de-summon this thing. Now, is that some kind of big bad that's going to appear later?
Wait, was it to de-summon or was it to summon?
Well, because every time somebody died, a part of this thing collapsed.
Fell off. Oh, okay.
So if you wanted information about it, then that would be a lore roll of an appropriate nature.
Get out of character.
But just in case anybody wants to do it, and then just to let you know that if you sort of like, for example, Bartleby's got lore of monsters, don't you? I think.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So say, for example, he wanted to research something about not necessarily monsters, but a battling faction of water goblins or goblins. Then instead of just being a standard roll, it would be a hard roll because it's one step away from his prime area. So, and if it was how do these orcs or goblins do battle, then that might be another step away. And so the rules sort of like, I think, how close is that to you? And of course, I can just say, yeah, roll it. No, you don't find anything out. If I just think, no, it's too. And that in itself I really love, because if you make your roll, you actually think there's nothing. Does that...
Yeah.
Does that...
It does make sense.
What did you see here about this jigsaw ground goblin?
You know, you actually, it's actually worse for you to fail a roll. And I say there's nothing. Because then you think there is something, but I haven't got it. So I always let you roll it. And then sort of like... So I did have a whole load of sections that said legwork. You know, before the... and can I just say...
I'm frustrated myself about that.
Cyrus, your interaction with Thimmy Bob, I forget her name.
Oh yeah, I actually have.
Oh, the witch lady.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't.
No.
The soothsayer?
Not the soothsayer.
The pigeon.
The
little pigeon.
Pigeon. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Somewhere I have her name.
Melanie.
That's
all right.
to happen.
That's
Is it Melody? Melody?
No, it's not. It's something else. I wrote it down somewhere. I'll find it.
Anyway,
continue.
Bob.
That I totally made up in the the second adventure.
No, that's fine. It gives me something that'll probably be.
And now I have one for everybody. I have what's known as people's subplots.
Yeah, it'd be like a passion, wouldn't it be?
Well, this is just because I really did think, you know, if somebody's going to make fun of me, what would I do? And then I suddenly thought, wouldn't it be interesting that come into the order, but also has that possibility of being stronger than you? You know.
Yeah, her name was Mel. You guys are right. I put down as Mel. Yeah.
So I thought that's a nice little subplot bubbling along. So yeah.
No, that's fine. It gives me something to someone to piss off.
It's giving him a stick to poke you with.
Yeah. Everybody else has Sylvester and Tiffin.
I love both of them.
Sniffing Tiffin.
So thank you for coming along and watching the adventure tonight. Everybody is now, they're heading back to roll their well-deserved skill rolls and see what they actually want to get up to before they start their next adventure. And please remember that there will be a flex slot coming up, so if you're interested to come and join us for an adventure, then do let me know, and then we can sort out the date. It will be on a Saturday evening. It will be 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock BST time, and you will play the beloved character of Ben, who has some combat and some magic, so you get to experience both sides of it, and he can play either. One of his favourite bits was fighting on a barge and bashing people off the boat with his two-handed hammer that he actually carries. So yeah, so I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, then don't forget to check out the videos. They're either the actual play or the real videos on my YouTube channel. Just search for Inwills. And yeah, we will see you back here next week when we'll start a brand new adventure and see what the Odes campaign actually supports. What?
We were just both touching our face at the same time.
At the same time, it's that weird, like, jinx!
Yeah, and that will be the thumbnail.
They're both home alone.
Yeah, and I'll put that screaming emote in the middle as well. Yeah. Okay, thank you for coming along. Thank you to the players. I will see you tomorrow morning to play a bit of Black Desert Online when we'll carry on with the Hasashinshan. And then ESO tomorrow afternoon when I'll still try to get my Ember Shield staff. Until then, look after yourself, stay safe, and we'll see you back next week. And for me, it's goodbye, and from them, it's Goodbye. Thank you so much. See you later.
None of this. Okay.
Bye-bye.
This video is sponsored by the Design Mechanism, the makers of Mythras. Mythras is a registered trademark of the Design Mechanism Inc., used with permission. All rights reserved.